Welcome to the Wealthworthy Podcast. I'm Trisha.
Hi, I'm Darian.
Thank you for joining us this week. We'll be talking today about avoiding leaving money on the table. So you really have to figure out what your best outcome is for any situation that you are in or looking to get more money out of. And a lot of things that we're working towards are really a series of negotiations. So across all of the things that we're doing, all aspects of our lives, there's some level of negotiation in there. And sometimes it might not seem like it, but the choices that we make all come with some kind of price. So if you decide you're going to go to school, you expect that that comes with a trade of a better monetary outcome. Or if you are working on a skill, then you're expecting a greater payout. But the bottom line is that you're making some kind of trade to help get you there. There are a few areas that we wanted to consider as we determine things that we could be doing to maximize our wealth. And one being around investing, which is something we've been talking about in the last few episodes, but really just making sure that you're paying attention to ways that you can minimize the fees that you are incurring. So knowing that there are firms that offer free services for some of the things that you're interested in, whether that's commission-free trading with places like Robinhood, Webull, Vanguard, or Charles Schwab, like just knowing that those options are out there, knowing that you can avoid paying fees on certain ETFs and mutual funds that are out there, and then manage portfolios, knowing the options around that as well, looking at things like M1 Finance or Ally Bank for some kind of managed portfolio. Then we want to be thinking about where we are in our different age groups. So how are all of your assets allocated, right? The younger you are, the more likely it is that an advisor would tell you to be more aggressive with whatever your portfolio is. Really consider, like, am I being aggressive, i.e. investing in more stocks or more high risk growth options? Like, what are the things that you're currently investing in? And if you're not investing in any of the more high growth options, then it's likely that you're leaving money on the table. Of course, things like that come with more risk, but the idea is that over time, you'll have the opportunity to really rebound if there is a dip in the market, and you will hopefully be coming out better than you would have if you had avoided participating in the market at all. We just want to be sure that we're looking at the best options around investing. But then things like career. Your career is usually one of the topics that come up when we talk about not leaving money on the table. And that's largely around making sure that you negotiate your salaries and benefits. Anything that comes to mind for you, Darian, when you think about how to make sure that you're negotiating on the job front?
Having a background in IT and being a freelance contractor in my previous role, I can relate to that because you may work 80 hours a week, make really good money, but then when you weigh the options of the money that you make versus however long the contract is, whether that's 6 months to a year, versus having a full-time role that you go to every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 9 to 6, when you weigh those options, sometimes you can't leave money on the table because even though you're in that freelance contractor space and you're getting the money you want, if you're not adding in maybe the gas or mileage you have to use to get back and forth to work, versus if you had a role where you work directly for a company, a lot of those things you spent the money on would already be taken care of on that front. And then just being able to know your yeses and your nos. So for instance, when you're working at a company, you want to get a raise, or they're not wanting to give you the money that you want, just kind of knowing your worth and being able to kind of navigate that space and being able to get what you want to get out of your role, and kind of just being able to build that leverage and knowing the market, and also being able to use your resources to get the money that you want.
Yeah, so I think that depending on the kind of position that you have, you definitely have to weigh all of the pieces that come with the package that you're offering. While the salary is usually a big negotiating point, that is also a finite amount that can be offered. Even when we think about the top CEOs of major companies or people starting new companies, for the most part, everyone is paying themselves a certain amounts. And they're not necessarily going to give a salary of more than what the market is willing to pay for it. You would never see someone, well, you should never say never, right? But you hardly see anyone being paid a significant amount and that's only salary in a short stint of time. It's likely that there's some kind of benefit behind it. And a lot of times with those executive levels, there's usually a stock option where they're getting a portion of their compensation tied to how the company is performing. And that is usually what pushes their compensation much further than the salary alone. When we think about negotiating salary, I would just say use resources like PayScale or Glassdoor where you can see what that company may be offering for some of the positions you're interested in, or just how the company's compensation as a whole tend to look. Sometimes it's hard to gauge where you fall across what those platforms say, just because the level of education may be different and, experiences overall might be different. So it's hard to know, is someone being paid a certain amount just because they have certain experiences, or just what do they bring to the table? But just doing that research helps you to be prepared to know the kind of range you should be working towards. If salary isn't going to be one of the more flexible options, then looking at what the benefits are and what things you could potentially negotiate related to the benefits is also important. You could be asking for more days off. Some companies will let you get more days if you ask for it. Of course, there are others where whatever the company standard is, that's what everyone gets and that's how it will remain. But you don't know unless you ask the question. You could also negotiate in conferences that you'd like to participate in. If there's something that you want for your own professional development, or if volunteering for certain organizations is important to you, then making sure that those memberships or conferences are all packaged in as a part of your compensation. Just knowing that you don't have to ask for it later on is a big deal, because when you have to ask, then people can say no. So if you ask ahead of time, i.e. in your contract, then you have something to lean on in the case that it's something that is important to you and you'd like your company's support for it. And then there are things like sign-on bonuses or like reimbursement for different tuitions or just certification courses that you're interested in. Just being aware of what the company's policy is, and if there are any room for flexibility, if there's something that you can put on the table early on. Aside from all of those, just looking at flexible work arrangements. Is that something that the company's willing to offer? Is that something that you are interested in? The more that I kind of listen and pay attention to what's going on in different books or different YouTube videos and things of that nature, a lot of the flexibility that people have comes around them being able to set themselves up in a more remote location where they can be working from anywhere, or they're able to leverage the time a little bit better than sitting in an office for 8 hours. If you can negotiate in any kind of flexibility, then it gives you a chance to be working towards not just the company goals, but things that you might have set aside because you don't have as much time to work towards it. The whole concept of the 4-Hour Workweek book is usually one that comes to mind here, where if you are working smartly for a couple hours a day, a couple hours a week, then you can achieve the same results just by thinking about it in a certain way. So that's an important negotiating point. Now, like, I've done flexible working for a few different roles that I've had in the past, and it does work nicely when you know that you can get certain things done and you can multitask on certain things. So it works well in that sense. But we can talk about that a little bit more another time, just to stay on track with what we're talking about here. But that's definitely one of the things that you can add into your negotiation points. And then just travel in general, especially for people who move from one area to another to take a position. You want to have some room to travel back and forth to your home, wherever it is that you're calling home. Maybe that's something that the company is willing to negotiate on for you. Another thing that I think we all would love is being able to rally for the job that you want or for a promotion that you're interested in. Being able to learn new skills or being able to talk to the right people, just positioning yourself so that you are in front of the people who make the decisions that could impact your career. When people know what you're looking for and what you're interested in, they can help to move that agenda along. And so the negotiating point there is really just positioning. How can you position yourself so that you are seen as a person who's already at the next level, or you can be recognized as someone who's willing to do the work or interested in doing something different. Just figuring out who the right people are that you can build relationships with, and what kind of things can you do in the meantime that'll help you strengthen your skills. If it's you looking on YouTube or taking a course online on Coursera or Udemy, you really want to just be constantly thinking through ways to sharpen your skills. I always say not to skimp on investing in yourself. If those classes work for you, or if there are things that you could be doing to help in those areas, then definitely invest in yourself. Sometimes putting a price tag on what that looks like is tough, because like, I don't have money to spend towards this, or I don't want to spend that much money on learning this. But if it's really going to help push you further or give you the push that you need, then it might be something worth looking into. You don't want it to be the gym membership that never pans out, right? Like, you want to be using it to your advantage, whatever your choice of learning and acquiring skills is, whether that's school, meeting new people, getting a good coach. Like, regardless of what you do, you have to really determine how it can help you invest in yourself. Maybe it's just reading books. Maybe that's the thing for you. But you have to figure out what can get you there. Another topic that requires some good negotiation skills, and you can lose a good amount of money really quickly, is around loans. And so I think that that's one area that deserves focus here as well. Usually we're taking loans for relatively large purchases, so you really need to put time into determining the best terms for your situation. So when we're talking about making a home purchase or investment property purchases, you want to find properties that'll give you the best terms, right? So whether that's the actual price of the home itself or the interest rate for the mortgage, and then of course the closing costs that come along with all of those things, just being able to know what the options are and how you can make it work for you. When it comes to looking for homes, you really want to see how much homes in that area are going for before settling on a price. And of course, it's good too if you're able to negotiate on a home that you are mildly interested in or somewhat interested in. So then you can think through what things would get you to say yes to that house. And that way you would know exactly what's important to you before you go in and say yes to whatever the seller is offering because it's a house that you love so much. Like, it's better if you pause and look at it on something that you're mildly interested in, so then you know your negotiating points and you know what your stopping place is, because people will take your money and smile about it while you're just like, oh dang, how much did I pay? When it comes to the interest rate, shopping around for the lowest possible rate is always a best practice. So if you are recommended a specific lender, maybe taking that to one or two other places to see if they'll give you a similar rate or something lower, and then you can determine which lender is best for you and see if they'll honor the lowest price that you were offered. So those two are some big ones where you can save yourself thousands of dollars just by doing a little bit of digging. And with closing costs, if you are able to be in a situation where the seller is willing to pay for the closing costs, I've seen people do that in cases where they don't necessarily want to go down on the actual price of the home. They might be willing to pay the selling costs or the closing costs, but you really want to just see what pieces of the contract you can play with, because there are tons of things and it's a large purchase. So if there are pieces that you can have working your favor, then definitely, right? Like, small fixtures in the home could mean a world of difference for you because it's one less thing you have to worry about. Anything you can think of around loans, Darian?
When I think about loans, I think anytime you take out a loan, you really have to be strategic in what you're taking a loan out for. And some advice for people who do take out loans: it's best to always do double payments no matter how many months they give you, because it's easier just to do it that way and you can be able to knock it out quicker.
Yeah, and you're knocking it out faster by doubling your payments or paying more than whatever you owe, but you're also lowering the amount of interest that you're paying over time. So anything you can do to get rid of these kinds of payments would be ideal, because then you have more money to put towards saving or investing, and that's what you want. So looking at the opportunities where you can really save yourself money on interest is always going to be a good deal. If that means transferring the balances around or renegotiating with whoever the lenders are, then sometimes that could be a good option for you to find ways to lower the costs. The last area that we wanted to talk about was just around saving money when you are shopping. So making sure that you're looking for discounts, right? How can you get the lowest price for things that you would be buying anyway? Is there a sale? Is there something that you can find online? Like, if you're using an Ebates or if you're getting some kind of cash back for a purchase that you're making, then great, right? Or if you're using a card that offers you some kind of points or cash back for the purchases that you're making, then that gives you a chance to earn rewards for what you have made purchases around. And that can be saving you money in the long run if you have wisely chosen the cards that you use or the kinds of discounts that you're signing up for, right? So sometimes just choosing the different stores based on the kind of rewards that you could possibly get or the kinds of sales that you can get will help you to figure out what makes the most sense for your long-term goals of saving money or retaining money. I am definitely a person who hates to pay for parking. So if you can avoid paying for parking, I think that's usually one thing that you can inconvenience yourself a little bit for, if possible, right? Like sometimes you just have to suck it up and pay for it, or it might not seem like a big deal in the moment, but the reality is that the more you keep, the more you can earn. So we have to be constantly thinking about like how we can make bigger moves, bolder moves, and it starts with the mindset of how can you retain the money that you have? How can you take what you have and make it something much bigger? So we have to begin thinking, how can I stop thinking about these minor dollars that go out the door, and how can I invite more money or more rewards into my current life and lifestyle? So keep that in mind as you think through the things that you could be doing to earn more, and be aware of the things that you could be doing that will multiply the money that you have, or the relationships that matter most to what you're doing. Because sometimes just by being in the right spaces, it can mean a world of difference. The reality is that understanding how to earn more and understanding things that you could do to multiply or create multiple streams of income for yourself, like those are the things that'll matter most. Like the earnings piece is huge in making sure that you are getting the best bang for your buck. So just be sure that you're thinking about how you're investing and how much money is coming out of that, how you're doing with your career, right? Like, are you looking for opportunities where you can be increasing your income, and how often are you doing that? Are you thinking about that on a regular basis, or is it something that you are comfortable enough with so you haven't been thinking too much about changing your situation? Like, just think through, where are you, and then determine what's necessary for you to continue moving forward. So with all that in mind, we are glad that you were able to join us, and we hope that you subscribe and continue downloading our episodes. We look forward to talking to you again next week. So thank you, and bye.
Bye.